A series of armed robberies and shootings is rocking Los Angeles County. Violent crime up a staggering 90% in Culver City, and owners of major franchises like 7-Eleven are urging stores to close their doors.
Joining us now to discuss this is Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney Jon Hatami. Jon, good morning. Great to have you on. Culver City is a beautiful area.
Great food, great scene, fun.
Yeah, and I was reading that one resident who's lived there since the 60s says she's never seen crime in this area as bad as it is right now, and now she's afraid to go outside. And with a 90% spike in crime, I'm sure she's not the only person that feels that way. What's going on here?
I mean, George Gascon's policies are like a virus. They've basically spread from Los Angeles to neighboring cities such as Culver City, which has a 90% increase in violent crime, to West Hollywood, which has a 137% increase in violent crime, to an increase in crime in Santa Monica, to an increase in crime in Venice, to an increase in crime in Beverly Hills. 37 cities have voted and said they have no confidence in the elected district attorney to protect them. Residents should not be afraid to walk down the street, to go and have lunch with a friend, to wear a watch, to go to 7-Eleven, to buy groceries. And basically, George Gascon's policies have told many criminals that they're not going to be held accountable for their actions. We also have a city that's very lawless, a city that believes that criminals can get out on zero bail, they're not going to be charged with certain crimes. And it's really a horrible situation for many of the residents who feel afraid to even walk out of their own house.
You know, you mentioned 7-Eleven. We have Starbucks as well, telling franchises close up shop because it's not safe for you to operate in Los Angeles anymore. Doesn't that set off alarm bells among the Democrats that, quite frankly, run L.A., that maybe they need to do something to change that?
I mean, I think it sets alarms off for everybody. You know, when it comes to public safety is the right of everybody, of Republicans, of Democrats, of independents. It's a human right. We all have a right to public safety. George Gascon took office. He implemented zero bail. He supported defunding the police. He said he wasn't going to prosecute certain misdemeanors such as resisting arrest, disturbing the peace, public drunkenness, solicitation for prostitution, criminal threats. And many of these low-level crimes now have become higher-level crimes. He's not prosecuting gun violence. He's not prosecuting the gun allegation or the gang allegation. And so what's happening is he's emboldened many criminals that they believe they can commit crimes and they're not going to be held accountable. So I hope all the leaders or so-called leaders here in Los Angeles realize that George Gascon is dangerous. He's dangerous for all of us, dangerous for children, dangerous for families. And no matter what political party he belongs to, he needs to be removed.
One of the good guys in Los Angeles that's doing all he can to fight crime is Sheriff Alex Villanueva. And Los Angeles County supervisors have just approved a proposal that could give them the power to remove Sheriff Villanueva. And a lot of people are asking, you know, you're focusing your attention on him. What about George Gascon? Sheriff Villanueva himself responded to this potential removal in a statement saying, "It appears you are making yourself the judge, jury, and executioner for the office of the sheriff, nullifying the will of the voters. This illegal motion seeks to undermine the role of the sheriff and render the office subordinate to the Board of Supervisors." Is his job here really in jeopardy?
I mean, here's the thing. Voters should have the right to be able to vote in who they believe should be the best sheriff. We should not have a board of supervisors that are taking control or taking charge of what the voters have a right to do. It's basically unconstitutional. And if they do believe that Alex Villanueva should be removed, what about George Gascon? Over 700,000 Angelenos want him fired. 37 cities have voted no confidence in him. 2 courts have said he broke the law. And one court said he made prosecutors commit things that were on the role of replacing the voters. Alex Villanueva is doing the best job he can. He has been standing up and fighting for the rights of victims and of families and fighting for the rights of children. And he deserves to be able to go before the voters, and the voters have the right to select if they want him to be the next sheriff, not the Board of Supervisors.
It's amazing what kind of dystopian L.A. these supervisors are trying to create, kicking out the guy who's actually doing something about the lawbreakers and keeping the guy who coddles them and allows them to run willy-nilly over the great city of Los Angeles. Jon Hatami, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.